Welcome again to another video lesson. And in this lesson, we are going to tackle about the subject-verb agreement. The subject-verb agreement is very important because it helps us make our sentences grammatical and understandable. Let's begin. For rule number one, a singular subject takes a singular verb and a plural subject takes a plural verb. Take note that a singular verb has S, while a plural verb has no S. So let us take the examples given. First one is, there is a man. There are 4 men. He is happy. They are happy. Is singular verb. Are is plural verb. For the first sentence is the verb used because our subject is man, which is singular. For the second sentence, we use the plural verb are because our subject is men, which is in the plural form. However, we have to take note that a singular subject takes a plural verb in the subjunctive mood. Examples: if I were a bird, I would fly in the sky. Or if I were the CM, I would abolish the exam. These are sentences which are expressed in the subjunctive mood. Now, if you are expressing sentences in the subjunctive mood, you should use plural verb in your sentences. The same as with the examples given. Next rule, nouns that cannot be counted take the singular verb even though it is plural in meaning. Example, her hair is gray. Hair is non-countable noun because you cannot count it unless you really will endeavor to count it. But kidding aside, it's non-countable. Okay, hair. That's why we use the singular verb is. We also have the grass is getting long. So grass is a non-countable noun, or meaning mass noun. That's why we use is as our verb. Third rule, if the adjective is used as a noun, then the plus adjective is followed by the plural verb. Meaning, if you use adjective as your subject in the sentence, again, when you are using adjective as your subject in the sentence, you should use plural verb. Example, the old are generally respected. The old there refers to old people. Old is an adjective. The rule says when you use adjective as subject in the sentence, use plural verb. Next example, the poor are not always dishonest. So our subject in this sentence is poor. Again, the rule says when you use adjective as your subject in the sentence, use plural verb. Hence, the poor are not always dishonest. Let's go to the next rule. Rule number 4. Adding two or more subjects by and is plural verb. Again, if there is no or not in one of the two subjects connected by and, the verb is formed according to the previous subject of no or not. Examples: Arpita and Paramita are two sisters. So Arpita and Paramita are joined by the conjunction and. That is why we use are. Next, he and his friend have arrived here, plural form. I and not my brother have done this. So our subject in the third example is I, not my brother. We use have because I requires the plural form of the verb. Next, only boys and no girls are guilty. So our subject reference here is only boys. Only boys, that's plural boys. So are. Only he and not his friends is the culprit. Again, the rule says the phrase containing the word not is not your subject. The word that precedes it is your subject. So only he is our subject in the last example. So he is singular. That is why we use is as our verb. Rule number 5. If two singular nouns combine a single person or object, then the verb is singular. Example: the headmaster and president of the school is coming, meaning these only refer to one person, the first example. However, in the next example, the headmaster and the president of the school are coming. Now we use the plural verb are because the subjects now refer to two different persons, the headmaster and the president. Compared to the first example, that's only one person, the headmaster and president. I hope you see the difference between the first example and the second example with the use of the article the. That means the use of the article the gives you the hint that the person is a different person from the first subject mentioned. Next, a black and white horse is my favorite, meaning that one color is there in one horse. The next example is a black and a white horse are for sale, meaning there are now two horses, a black one and a white one. That's why you use are. Again, the presence of the article a denotes that there are different subjects combined by the conjunction and. Let's go to the next rule. Rule number 6. Even if there is a plural form in the title or name, if it deals with a subject, then use singular verb. Example: Star Wars was a very successful movie. 2 hours is long time to wait. 5 miles is too far to walk. So for the first example, Star Wars is a name of a movie. Although wars there will tell you that it's in the plural form, but since that is in reference to a title of a movie, that is only singular. Hence is the use of was as your verb. 2 hours and 5 miles, expression of time, distance. You always need to use singular verb with them. Rule number 7, each or every connected by subject always takes singular verb. Again, Each or every connected by subject always takes the singular form of the verb. The verb should have an S. Example, every pupil has a book. Each boy was wicked. Each boy and each girl was dressed in a new dress. Every man, woman, and the child was charmed. Every hour and minute brings its call for duty. Always have to put in your mind that when there is each or every, that always take singular form of the verb. Let's go to the next. Rule number 8. If two or more singular subjects are joined by or, nor, either or, neither nor, then the subject is singular. Examples. The boy or the girl is fond of sweets. Either Amal or Binamal has eaten the mango. Neither you nor I was there. Rule number 9 still has connection with rule number 8, but this now takes various forms of subjects which are connected by the expressions or, nor, either or, neither nor. So when a subject or when a singular or plural subject are joined by or, nor, either or, neither nor, then the plural subject comes at the end and the verb is plural. Examples. Either Nikhil or his friends have done this work. We have two subjects in this sentence. We have Nikhil and friends. Since the second subject, which is friends, is nearer to the subject, that is the subject that will have to agree with the verb. And second example, neither Nilo nor her brothers were hurt. So brothers is near with the verb where, so that is subject that has to agree with the verb in the sentence. Rule number 10, when or, nor, either or, neither nor combine subject of different persons, then the subject of the person at the end, the verb is according to that person. Now this is in connection to the explanation I gave in rule number 9. This combination of or, nor, either or, neither nor has 3 rules. As you have observed, or if you are still confused about it, you can just go back to rule number 8, 9, and with this, number 10. Example, either he or I have done this. Neither you nor he is to blame. Neither you or he or I shall go to market. Rule number 11. If the subject of different numbers or person is added by and, then the verb is plural. Examples. You, he, and I are friends. You and he are birds of the same feather. Last example. You and I would enjoy the TV. Rule number 12. Collective nouns, when used to convey the sense of togetherness or unanimous action, take the singular form of the verb, but when they are used to convey the sense of separation, they take a plural verb. Examples of these collective nouns are audience, class, committee, crowd, flock, jury, parliament, team, etc. Examples: the audience was listening attentively. The client was silent. The committee has issued its report. The flock is grazing. The jury were divided in their opinions. Let's continue with rule number 13. A lot of, a group of, a number of collectively takes the verb of singular number and the verb of plural number in different entities. Example: there is a lot of boys on the ground. A lot of boys are playing on the field. Here is a group of boys. A lot of boys are playing on the field. That is the only expression which requires the plural form of the verb. The expression there is and here is depends on what subject is attached to the expression of or after the of phrase. Of boys, as what you see in the first sentence and the third sentence. Also in the second sentence, it can also vary. Rule number 14. Some nouns which are singular in form but plural in meaning take plural verb. Example: the police or policemen are questioning a man, but the policeman is watching outside the house. So that's an example. Other examples further, we have people have to obey the rules. 2 dozen, not dozens, make 24. Again, 2 dozen. You don't need to add s to the word dozen because you already have said the number of dozen, meaning you limited already. That's why you should say 2 dozen, not dozens. Number 3, 1 dozen of eggs cost 18 rupees. Rule number 15. Some nouns which are plural in form but singular in meaning take singular verb. These are what we call special nouns. Example: the news is true. The wages of sin is death. Physics is a new branch of science. Politics is the business of his life. Take note, however, that some nouns are always plural and take a plural verb. Examples: the goods were found to be defective. My belongings have been destroyed. So these are nouns which are always plural and thus always require the plural form of the verb. Rule number 16. When a plural noun is preceded by one of, each of, either of, neither of, the verb to use is singular, not plural. In such cases, plural verb is often mistakenly placed. Remember, in these instances, we need to use the singular form of the verb. Examples: one of the boys was ill. Because we already have limited, meaning we already have said the number of subject, meaning we only mean one. The quality of the oranges is not good. We only pertain to the quality. Each of the girls is clever. Each. Either or either of the books is stolen. neither of the books was interesting. Rule number 17, more than one takes singular verb, but more than two, three, or more takes plural verb. Examples: more than one boy is guilty, but more than two boys are guilty. Rule number 18, if more than one subject is added by with, together with, or as well as, then the verb is according to the first subject, meaning these are intervening phrases. The subject which are inside the intervening phrases does not affect the first subject. The first subject mentioned is the subject that you need to follow. Examples: they, with their father, deserve praise. Our subject here is they. Number 2, Subhas as well as his friends was punished. We use the singular word was because our subject here is only Subhas as well as his friends is an intervening phrase that does not affect our main subject, which is Subhas. Rule number 19, when parentheses sits after the subject in the corner, it does not affect the subject-verb agreement in any way. The part of Bacchus that is not associated with the structure of the original sentence is called the parenthesia. Example: he and not you has won the prize. And not you there is not included as subject in the sentence. Our subject in this sentence is he. That is why we use the verb has, which is singular. Rule number 20. In case of not only and but also, the verb is according to the last subject, meaning the last subject in the phrase used. Example: not only George, but also his friends are buying books. We use the plural verb are because our subject here is friends, because we need to follow the last subject. Rule 21, if the relative pronoun is the subject, then the verb is according to the number and person of the antecedent, that is, its previous noun or pronoun. Example: I, who am your friend, should stand by you. Number 2, he who is my friend should stand by me. He and is, I and am. Who you are, my friends, you who are my friends, rather, should stand by me. So you have you and are. You, although it refers only to one person, requires the plural form of the verb. That's the rule, okay? Same with the word or the pronoun I. Rule 22. Pronouns and verbs of masculine gender or feminine gender are used according to the context in case of anybody, everybody, anyone, everyone, each, and etc. Example: I shall help each of the girls in her studies. Each of the boys will do his duty. Although what is shown in this example is the use of his and her, which are in their singular form, singular pronouns. But when you use anybody, everybody, anyone, everyone, and each as subject in the sentence, they always require the singular form of the verb, meaning the verb that you should use should have S. Rule 23. One always sits in place of one. Example, one should be careful of one's duties. Next, one cannot be too careful about what one says. I hope you are able to identify the difference between the first example and the second example. The first example use one in its apostrophe form because that is in reference to the possessive, to the possessiveness in reference to duties. Whose duty? To one's duties. And also the second example has no, rather on one hand, the second example has no apostrophe because what one says, that's rather in reference to an action. Rule 24. After than or as, the case and verb of the pronoun have to be placed according to the meaning of the context. Example, he is taller than I am. I like you better than he likes you. Or actually, that's just he is taller than I like you better than he, and I like you better than him. But to complete the idea, that's why the words there are in parentheses to give you reference to where this should be placed. Rule 25. When many an is added before the noun, then it becomes singular form, and the verb should also be in singular form. Example, many a rose is born to blush and seen. Many an admirer praises him. Because a and an are indication of singularity of subject. Although you have used many, which entails plurality of subject, but since it is structured in a manner that it is combined with the article a, which limits the subject, and the rule says that when you use many a and many an, which is added before a noun, which is singular, use singular form of the verb. Rule number 16. Plural verb sits after pair of noun like trousers, scissors, glasses, and etc. You always, use plural verb. Meaning these are words that come in pairs. Thus, they are always in plural form. Example, here are the scissors. These trousers need cleaning. Your new glasses are very nice. You cannot say scissor because scissor that will just only be one. That will not be the scissors which you refer to. So you always have to refer to them as scissors, trousers, or pants, glasses, shorts. Now we have to take note, however, that we cannot use or number before the pair nouns. Example, not a trouser and not two trousers. We can use pair of such, of plus rather, Such pair nouns with a singular or a plural verb. Example, this pair of trousers needs cleaning. Now, that the verb becomes needs, or which the verb needs. The verb is needs, which is in the singular form because we use the word pair, and pair is only one. Hence, the verb needs. Rule 27. The auxiliary verb sits once when the two principal verbs are related, following the structure of an auxiliary verb. Example, I have lost the pen, but got the book. I have lost the pen, but got the book. The second verb in the sentence, which is got, would actually have also the verb have, but you need not write have there because that would mean that you use the same verb with the first one. That's all. That is also according to the rule on parallelism. Rule 28. If a clause or phrase is the subject, then take the singular verb. Your subject is a clause or a phrase. They should not be taken individually, but rather as a phrase or a clause. Example, to hear is human. That he is honest is known to me. These are phrase and clauses which are used as subject, thus they require singular verb. Rule 29. When two numbers are joined by and, then the verb is singular. However, in this case, now plural verb is also being used. Examples, so that it will be clear. The rule is somewhat confusing, but if you will read and understand the example, then the rule will be clear to you. 2 and 2 makes 4. 4 and 5 makes 9. Okay, depending on how you use them and depending on the context they're being used and said. Now for our last rule, rule number 30. Half of, two-thirds of, three-fourths of the greater or greatest part of, and other expressions. When the quantity is indicated, use singular verb. And when the number is indicated, then use the plural verb. Example, half of the apple is rotten. Half of the apples are good. I hope you can see the difference between the first and the second sentences. Let's go to the third sentence and the fourth sentence. Half of the land is cultivated. Two-thirds of the boys are absent. So these are the different subject-verb agreements in the English language. And you commonly see them in sentences and paragraphs, compositions, when you read books which are in the English language, or when you read any reading material for that matter. To be able to master these rules, you need to practice. And how to practice is by answering subject-verb agreement exercises. And to put this into a higher practice, read and read. Because when you read, you are subconsciously eating up the lesson. And when you write, these lesson that you have subconsciously consumed will actually go out from you without you knowing it. So if you did not understand something, or if you still are confused with some of the rules, just please go back with that rule and master it, read it, take a look at the examples. That is why there are 2 or more examples in every rule, so that you will see how the rule works. Thank you, and see you again in our next lesson.